Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that's Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2023 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. There's going to be season 5, episode 19. It is called The Wheel of Fire. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So yeah, we pick up some plot threads with some various characters. We get some Garibaldi advancement. His alcoholism finally comes to a head. Shakar's still dealing with his following, shall we say, and Lita's kind of scary now. So more on all of that as we go. So yes, I will say my first thought, honestly, that I wanted to share is that I thought it was a little bit weird that this episode ends on almost the exact same shot as the previous episode. With Londo sitting in his chair, which don't get me wrong,
you're right.
I did actually really like that at the end of the episode Delenn says, hey, I hope Londo's okay, because you know, we've not been talking about him all episode, he's not been a factor, we're dealing with all these other characters. There was kind of a nice sweetness to her just being like, I hope Londo's okay at the end, like she thinks something's maybe not quite right.
No.
No, yeah, the answer is most definitely no, there's no question. But yes, what did you make of the what the rest of the episode was, though?
I like the episode. I actually thought when it ended that this seems like a really good season plot for like the next season, the evil Lita storyline. But we don't have too many episodes to explore this. This whole like possible evil infrastructure she's doing with the plans that she's made with Garibaldi and stuff like that. Okay,
oh, sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a good episode. I thought the straitjacket they put her in was really sexy.
It was a sexy straitjacket, which I don't think I've ever heard that sentence before.
Because when they first show her and she's like sitting down, and I was like, whoa, that's an interesting outfit she's got on. It's like dark and kind of sexy, and then she stands up and oh, that's the straitjacket she's in.
It's from Franklin's collection.
Seriously,
so for kinky
so
games.
revealing. Yeah, you're right. This is a straitjacket for pleasure. This is just what they had available.
I was about to say does such a thing exist, but I'm almost certainly sure that there is a thing that exists. It's probably not called a straitjacket though. I bet it's called like I don't know, like a love sweater. No.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, all the Lita stuff in Garibaldi. So the Lita stuff is interesting. That is taking her in this direction where she's been getting a bit more extreme. She's obviously, we sympathize with her because we've seen what she's went through, and she has been kind of used and abused and all these things. But by the end of this episode, it feels like, oh no, she is actually quite dangerous. You know, the start of the episode when Zach comes to Lockley and they get the information saying, hey, someone's funding attacks on Psychor. It leads back to Babylon 5. It's probably Lita. It makes sense that it's her. And they have to go bring her in. So and we get the scene where they go to get her and possibly arrest her if she doesn't come willingly. And I was thinking, oh, like this is set up. But because they've just assumed it's her, my first thought was, oh, by the end of the episode, we're going to find out it wasn't really her. And she's going to feel hurt that everyone thought it was. Instead, it went the completely other direction where as soon as they tried to talk to her, she just went full on, like, super psychic and started controlling people around her.
I mean, this is like Dark Phoenix plot or something happening here. They straight up just turned her into Jean Grey.
Yes, she goes full Dark Phoenix, yeah. And it's quite scary.
It was unexpected.
Yeah, I also wasn't expecting like Sheridan to swoop into the scene and being like, I was also touched by Vorlons, so you have no control over me. That
made me laugh.
The way he slid into the scene did make me laugh a little bit, but it makes enough sense though that yeah, he has some immunity.
It definitely looked cooler on paper.
Yeah. But you know that's how they take her in, and they intentionally like have no one near her when she's in the cell, so she can't like control someone to let her out. But yeah, they're really sort of delving into stuff. But actually, it follows up in one of the little things that I liked about the last episode was that discussion of like weapons been left behind after a war, and then later, by the end of this episode, Lita's saying, yeah, I am a weapon, and I'm not like a little weapon. You know, you have all your little weapons, you get your medium-sized weapons, and then you've got your nuclear bomb, and that's effectively what she is. She is the psychic nuclear bomb.
Yeah, she sounds more like she's not just a nuke, but like she calls her like the doomsday device.
Destroyer of worlds.
She is the big bugle in space going around eating planets.
That's a Star Trek reference. Very good. Yes. At the start of the sentence, I didn't know where you were going with that, but by the end, I got the reference. Very good. Yeah. You know, and her eyes light up all evil at the end, and just like, oh, like she's like doing serious stuff here.
Yeah.
But I think what this episode was good at is that despite the fact that it had different plots going, I thought, and they kind of did this naturally as it went on, where Garibaldi goes to speak to her, but the idea that her anger and her trying to deal with, like, almost like her power is her version of, like, addiction, and she's getting more reliant on the power, in the same way that Garibaldi's alcoholism comes to a head here, where he's late for a meeting at the start of the episode, he shows up, and immediately he's, like, losing his words, he can't think of what he's supposed to say, and everyone's sitting awkwardly. They clearly have all, like, you know, at this point, sussed it out what's going on, and Sheridan just calls him out on it. And we get the, you know, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. I'm glad he went further, though. He went further and said, no, I'm not disappointed in your, like, failure, because he understands what his addiction is, but he's disappointed that he didn't catch it sooner, that he didn't question it. And there's a history with this, because Franklin, he brings up, had his issue a couple of years ago. So, I think, you know, it felt like maybe we were treading water a little bit with Garibaldi's problem for a while. It felt like we were doing it was a little repetitive, the way it was dealing with him in the background. But now that it's finally come out, the different characters' reactions to it are it was interesting to see, you know, at least showing up and, like, immediately just wanting to help him. She already kind of knew he was drinking again from before the last time she was there.
Totally forgot about her, too.
Yeah. I think the way, like, I think Lockley's speech when she goes to see him is a little overwritten, but I do think it, like, there's a lot of truth in it, where she talks about how, I mean, her revealing she's an alcoholic, I didn't see that coming, because that is just kind of a new thing, but the part about how, like, kids of alcoholics, like, often become alcoholics, I was like, I bet that sounds like a real thing. That sounds, I don't know for sure, but that sounds like a true statistic that, you know, I don't know what the percentage would be, but it sounds plausible to me that that's a real thing. In the same way that abusive parents often lead to another generation of abusive parents. I can see there being, like, a parallel there. But I thought, like, that speech and her wanting to help him, it was kind of a nice moment, just if you remember back to the start of the season, where, like, her and Garibaldi were not that chummy. They did not get along. So her actually coming to try and help him and effectively be his, his sponsor, you know, to use an AA term, but, like, showing up and being the sponsor for him in a way. It was an unlikely kind of ally for him, and that was kind of a neat little moment. It is kind of sad that by the end of the episode, obviously he's gone down kind of a dark path in a different way, where he's making this deal with Lita, and possibly will get his revenge on Bester someday. But it does track with the sense that, you know, we said that the episode he started drinking, it was because Bester made it clear Garibaldi's not in control, and that's what led to him, you know, giving up that control. And that's something that Lockley also sort of brings up, is the idea of control and not having it and wanting to have some choice in something kind of led to that. So,
it was good to have Lockley, you know, do something, and we don't really know too much about her history. It's been sprinkled in throughout the season, but the alcoholism thing was nice that she has that, I suppose, in her character, so that she can have something to do for the rest of the season. But also I didn't really see that pairing, you know, also, which was kind of nice. Yeah. It's all right. Like, it definitely didn't go. I thought it was getting a little bit cheesy when Lisa showed up, and he's like, and she's like, you know, you don't really have to stress about this job. You can just come home with me. I'm like a gazillionaire on Mars. He had a moment where he's like, yeah, gazillionaire on Mars. Like, I was like, yeah, why aren't you doing that? And then instead he went and saw Lita.
Well, to be fair though, I mean, he was always planning on going back to her. Now, admittedly, Like
Yeah,
she even questions, like, did you really mean that? And we might have speculated that also maybe he's going to not actually go through with it. But now he's not really got that much of a choice, unless he wants to stick around. But he points out, though, and it does feel like we're getting towards the end of the show, because he points out that every character is basically leaving the station. Everyone's like days here are numbered. Franklin's got the job that he's going to be leaving for soon. Sheridan, at the start of the season, they said, hey, we're only on B5 until this new base for the Alliance is set up on Mimbar. So we've got that. I did laugh a little bit that one of the things Garibaldi flubs when he's talking is he says, I can't remember which way around it is, but he says Mimbari instead of Centauri or vice versa. And
it happens like all the time with us.
I did it once or twice in season 1. I don't know if I've done it that much since.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah, but I think I did it a couple times in season 1. Maybe you're still drunk, but I have, I think, gotten over that.
I have a problem, okay?
Oh dear. So no, but it does feel like, but like everything's winding down, and he's talking about how things won't be the same again. But I think,
yeah, it also sounds like JMS is trying to prepare us for a not happy ending. Because like it should be, the way he's talking about it at first, he's like, everything's going well, like Shakar is like a hero amongst his people, even though he doesn't want this, it's still like a good thing overall, and he's going to be leaving, and Sheridan's going to be leaving, and to start his family, and everything's going well, except like by the end of the episode, you're like, actually everyone's like kind of in a really crap position. Is this what JMS is trying to prepare us for the finale? Like, don't expect everything to wrap up neatly in a nice little bow.
Yeah, keep in mind that this plot, whatever it is, because I mean, I feel like we've got a couple episodes left, and I feel like maybe this stuff at the end is maybe something that we are going to deal with in these last couple of episodes. Because remember, the plot that they're setting up right now, whatever is going to get wrapped up will be wrapped up in episode 21, because 22 was the one that was shot last, for the end of season 4. Last week we talked about maybe it's set in the future, all that stuff. So, we'll see. I'm more convinced it might be set in the future with the reveal that Delen's pregnant. I'm kind of expecting to see their kid, like as an adult or something, in the final episode. I could be wrong.
What if he looks like Linear? That'd be so funny.
You think Delen had a one night stand with Linear?
I mean, Franklin said that, what are the odds that you'd get pregnant? Maybe the odds were better with Centauri.
Well, that's a good question, though. Are they any better with this? Because given that she's now this hybrid of both human and Centauri.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, are the odds any better with a Centauri than a human?
I don't know. I just thought...
Wait, Centauri! Minbari! Damn you, women! You did that! You said it, and I just said what you said.
Check the tapes.
The odds with a Centauri are definitely very low. She doesn't even have 7 places to put those things.
I'm just saying, if he looks like anything like Billy Movie, we should be. Anyway, no, the reason I said that also is because when Franklin says she's pregnant,
you really are drunk. I can't believe you made that mistake. Like mere minutes after we talked about it.
I legit thought that it was the right term.
We're only 3 episodes from the end of the show.
Says, because she's pregnant, which is the line I saw coming.
Yes.
It zooms in on Sheridan's face and it has like ominous music. I was like, what? Do you not think it's yours?
Well, I think he's concerned because she collapsed. I mean, it's just not it's not like a happy way to find out one's pregnant. And he's like, if there's something wrong, you have to pick her, the baby, then pick her. She should survive. A decision, by the way, I'm completely on board with. Like, I think the living adult who already has a life should stay alive.
Yeah, of course.
So, just my stance on the subject.
JMS is putting his politics out there too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think again, this is a really common thing to do at the end of a show, especially even less so than like shows like this. I feel like sitcoms always have characters who get pregnant in the last season. It's like, hey, their life's starting beyond the show. They're going to have a happy family life beyond, after the last episode. Like that's kind of what it's setting up for Delenn and Sheridan, unless something really bad happens in the next 2 episodes. which is possible. But
Yeah.
you know, I think it's a fine thing to do at the end of the show to sort of give them some happiness, because I mean I feel like those two are the ones that can have some happiness, at least for some time. We know Sheridan, is dead in like 20 years, but they can have 20 years of happiness. He can raise a kid to college age and, send them out the nest and be on their way and feel like he's accomplished something. That's something. So, yeah.
And he can prepare for it also, because he knows it's going to come. So long as he doesn't die before then.
No. I mean, not to an extent he won't, because we've seen him in the future, with Londo.
Yeah.
Getting that one last kind of mission, which I actually, if we are set in the future, I do wonder if that's him fulfilling that promise of helping Centauri Prime. Like, if I was to make a guess, like what some of the final episode might do, it could be that. Although I am looking forward to seeing Ivanova again, because I know Ivanova's back for it, because she was there when they shot it.
We just saw her.
Well, yeah, but that was like set, like that was like a standalone story. This is going to be the finale. This is.
Yeah, every time I see Lockley, I'm like, yeah, that would have been Ivanova.
Yeah,
not that I dislike her. It's just a reminder, because they kind of look alike, and I'm just like, oh yeah, they're both tough broads.
I think it's fair to say that while like the history's a little bit different, I do think it's fair to say that if Ivanova was the one to come to Garibaldi this episode and give him the speech about getting back on his feet, it would have meant more, because they've been together since season 1. It would have had more of an impact. And that's, there's no fault in the writing here. It's not, this was just the predicament they were in. They had to use the new character, but it probably would have been Ivanova, and it would have hit a little bit more. But I still think the scene with Lockley's good, and I still think it works well enough.
Yeah,
for
it's fine. I agree that it's a bit overwritten, or it's just like, okay, add drama on top of drama on top of drama in the backstory.
Yeah. It's a bit of a. It has a few cheesy like sort of lines in the speech. I think Sheridan almost had one as well, where I thought he was going to say, "This problem's not between you and me, or you and your job, or anyone else." I thought he was going to say it was between you and the bottle, and I was ready to cringe a little bit. But then he said "you and you," and I thought, "Oh no, that's better. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's not the cheesy line."
I actually liked that moment, because I think it was also him reassuring him, like, I'm not here to fire you. Like, I want you to get better, so I'm not going to add stress on top of another stress. Like, I don't want your problem right now to be to keep your job. Your problem is just to know that we'll wait for you as long as it takes. Like, it's just full support.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sweet that, well, it's awkward at first when they all sort of like, confront him at the start. Like, after that, everyone basically just offers support and is concerned. Like, no one is like angry at him, no one is yelling at him.
Yeah, because that must have been like deep humiliation that what he went through. Because he just said, "You're drunk," and like left and said, "But you have to stay," and everyone else get the hell out of here.
Yeah. So everyone like sort of rallying around him is kind of nice, and it's a sort, and it actually, this is a nice little parallel that I didn't even think of when Delenn brings up Londo at the end. Is that there's a lot of talk in this episode about not dealing with this problem on your own. This is something you should have others around you to help deal with. And the sad part, even though it's not the same type of problem, Londo is dealing with like this monumental problem on his own that he has to keep to himself for years and years. Although notably, we do know from the future that the first person who will know about it and help him is Jakar, because Jakar comes out with the eye patch on, and it's like, oh, he already knew about it before Sheridan did. So there's a nice little sweet parallel there, I guess, thematically, that Londo's now in this predicament where he doesn't have these people around him, whereas Garibaldi does. Although, yeah, Garibaldi makes this deal with Lita to like help funnel money to like fight against Psycho, and eventually she'll remove his psychic block, which will let him possibly get revenge on Besta.
Yeah, it seems like at the end he goes, "Yeah, I made a good deal," and it's like, oh, is Lita like the devil now? Like, you made a deal with the devil?
It does kind of feel like that a little bit, yeah.
She got like glowing eyes, and they go red first, so we know evil.
Yeah. Actually, didn't you say something back in like season?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
No,
I don't know.
You said something offhand, I think early in the show with Lita, where her eyes went white or something. You said it looked evil or something like that. I feel like there was like a moment where you kind of accidentally stumbled into foreshadowing this.
We've had a lot of accidental foreshadowing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a show that does bring things back up. It puts the pieces in the board, and you can see them. If you pay attention to them, you can see some things coming, which is...
I'll take the credit, though. Yeah.
Oh,
it was
for
definitely
sure.
me.
Sure. By all means, take the credit. I'm not here to refuse it.
So predictable, the writing.
Hey, predictability is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. I think we just, throw everything at the wall and speculation-wise and something stick.
Of course. But that's the point, though, is that the show's fun to speculate about because it is putting all the pieces in motion. You can speculate. There's some shows where you can't because everything is so dull and predictable that there's no point, or it's so erratic
it's just so wild. Yeah.
Which is its own form
or
of
characters
bad
like
writing.
make decisions that don't make sense to their character in order to have like the twist or something. You're like, what? This is unsatisfying.
Yeah, which this show does not do. This show, like, its characters have went through journeys. Their decisions make some sense. Even Jakar's sort of ending that he's setting up, where he's going to go and like, you know what? I was able to understand the Centauri a lot better by spending time with one. Maybe I should go and learn about other cultures. I'll go to other planets and learn from other species and have an even better understing, and also avoid my people.
Did you love the portrait that someone had of him? It looked like a Jesus portrait. The glowing light behind him.
Yeah, they had statues, all sorts of things. Apparently the Narn homeworld is like half of them want Jakar to come back and rule the planet. The other half want him to come back and just approve of them ruling it so that they've got his blessing.
Yes, they've taken the wrong lessons from his book.
Which unfortunately seems like a cyclical problem, is people not learning the right lessons.
Yeah, there's a lot of commentary on religion here.
Yeah.
I mean, just straight up with the whole, like, people think that they can hide behind the image of him because he's perfect, or their perfect image of a Narn, instead of being perfect themselves, or trying to be
Which
better.
actually ties into the alcoholism again, because he says that, people hide behind the perfect image of him so they don't have to, like, fix themselves. And it's almost like, in some way, that's also kind of what Garibaldi did. Instead of, like, trying to fix himself, he just gave in to the other thing, which lets him ignore it, which lets him kind of, or not ignore it, maybe that's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Like, I can see even a parallel with that. So, this is a very downbeat episode in a sense, because it is just all these personal drama things.
Yeah.
But
except for the baby.
That's still personal drama.
I mean, yeah, well, except for the baby. It's not a downer because you have the baby.
I just said personal drama. I never said downer. I didn't even imply it was all negative. I just said personal drama.
I guess I just heard something else entirely. I heard you say this episode's kind of a downer.
Well, I might have said that as well, I suppose. I don't remember. Look, I just woke up after a very short sleep, okay? I'm not entirely there.
Usually we record super late at night, and like it's super dark out, and I'm the one struggling. And today we are recording in the bright day. Like, you've got daylight behind you. It's probably a normal hour for you, and you're so sleepy.
I am. I'm not designed to be recording this quickly after I get up from bed. But
of the two of us, I'm the only one that's solar powered, which makes sense because I'm the environmentalist.
I'm not anti-environment.
I'm just making a dumb joke.
I can't help that I'm part vampire. Okay, it's not my fault. What were we talking about? You've thrown me off track.
The pregnancy being a good thing,
No,
but everyone else kind of having personal dramas that are not good.
Oh yeah, that's what I was getting at. So, like, yeah, it's a very downbeat episode. That's why I said it was a downbeat episode, and you took downer from that. Ha! Checking me.
Whatever. I got the glowing eyes thing right from like way back. Okay.
Aha. Cue Captain Holt saying vindication. Vindication. Anyway, no. It's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's a funny bit. Anyway, so I think it's a downbeat episode with all this personal drama, but like the themes of all the different plots, there's enough sort of things linking them and feeling like they they all kind of fit together, and obviously some of this stuff is going to be resolved because we do have, we get 3 more episodes. We got a TV movie next. That's next time, but we got 3 more episodes, and 2 of them are going to be like the end of whatever plot they've been doing for season 5, because the final episode, of course, is the one they already did from before. So I suspect this stuff with the Psychor, like in Garibaldi and Lita, is probably going to be what the big plot is that we're dealing with. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but that feels like it's set up for stuff to actually do, rather than we're just leaving it ambiguous and trailing off into the sunset. Whereas, setting up the baby, setting up Jakar and Lita going on this journey, those feel like, that's just what they're going to go off and do when the show's over, and that's fine. I could be wrong though, but that's what it feels like. Okay, that's what we're going to actually be doing for the main plot in the next couple episodes. Watch me be completely wrong. Watch me, like, they'll be doing some weird, like, 2-parter that I didn't see coming. So it's all about...
I mean, if we do get the episode in the future, maybe it will tell us everything that happened with Lita.
Oh, very possibly.
And the telepath. Maybe they had to destroy her.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a line from Lockley where she's like, maybe you should have just shot her on the head when you had the chance. She's getting too powerful. Like, she had that little moment. Oh, yeah,
and she gets knocked out by her also when she gets handcuffed. Like, it seemed like unnecessary. Punch her in the face.
That was just so she would go, I guess, in the handcuffs. I think, again, I hate to do this because I'm kind of like saying again how it could be better, but it would have probably meant more as well if Ivanov was the one who punched her.
I guess.
I know Ivanova had more of a direct connection with Talia, but because of Ivanova's history with the Psychor and telepaths, I think her personal stake and everything going on with that stuff would have a bit more weight to it.
It seemed like the appropriate thing to do would just have Sheridan help escort her to the prison.
Yeah, but Lockley wanted to punch someone.
Yeah, I know, but like it's such unnecessary violence against somebody who's handcuffed.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with
excessive force, I'm not
going to argue with you. Maybe she was just angry. Like maybe that that conversation with Garibaldi and the lift that just
brought back all the memories of her father, her mother dying.
Frustration. This is how she's dealing with it without hitting the bottle. She's just, I'll hit Lita instead.
No one will care.
Oh dear.
Even Zach was like, I thought he would have a little bit more pushback, but
nope. Yeah, I mean, I think he was acting like he was a little conflicted, but yeah, he never like tried to stop it. He never like said we should. I should go talk to her first.
If she has to be arrested, then that's the job. Let's go.
Yeah. It's being professional. What's interesting, actually, someone commented on Third Space and said that scene in the elevator was something they might have added later because the episode was too short, and that's why it maybe felt a little bit just kind of like tacked on.
Yeah, I guess. It's more of like I really wish it wasn't there, but only because I just thought it was really poorly written.
I know, but like it's interesting to think that maybe that's why it felt maybe just like kind of random and out of place, is because it was just this extra scene to get it up to the right runtime.
Could be good for you.
Maybe Zach put her in the sexy straitjacket. He's like, this is the one for Leah.
This one.
Right. He goes into the closet.
I'll bring her lunch.
There's the classic white straitjacket with all the buckles and the all that, and then there's that sexy one. He's like,
and then there's the one that pushes the boobs together.
No, I think we've been unfair to Zach. We're unfair to Zach. I love how we've insulted both Franklin and Zach this episode by suggesting they had a hand in this sexy straitjacket.
Yes. Zach's still my favorite, though.
Oh, Zach's still very good. Yeah, Zach's still great. I know I think it's interesting whenever you're watching a show like this, it's very serialized and you're getting towards the end and you start to get that feeling that, we're going towards the end. They're starting to
things are wrapping up.
Yeah, we're headed in that direction. There is a very unique feeling with that I think is very unique to television, and good television where you've been with these characters for, in this case 5 seasons, 5 years, if you were watching it in real time as it was airing, where it does feel like, there's kind of like I guess the closest I can compare it to is like when you get to the end of like high school and like you realize, I'm leaving all these people and I'm never going to see any of these people again. And it's kind of like that. But better because you probably have more fond memories of the good TV show than you do of high
yeah,
school.
it is it is more like that because at least with like a college or university, like you don't have the same people all the time.
Yeah.
But in high school, you really do, and everybody is leaving at the same time.
I suppose some jobs probably end up with that feeling, but it's very dependent on what the job is.
Business closes down, maybe.
Yeah.
Or I guess, or if like, why would everybody leave at one time unless there was like a mass firing?
Yeah, mass fire or the place closes down. Yeah, I'm thinking there's definitely scenarios where it might happen in the real world after like school, but school's probably the place that's the most consistent where you'll feel it.
I mean, even military service, I only showed up with like 3 other people at the same time, and we all left mostly around the same. Not really though. I only left with one other person that came with me at the same time from school.
Yeah. So it's a very unique feeling, and I think I felt it like every time I get towards the end of a show, especially shows from this kind of era. I think it's a little bit different, although you still feel it with things like your Better Call Sauls and stuff like that. But those are like very different to these ensemble shows from the 90s where like when I was getting towards the end of Buffy or towards the end of or maybe like a slightly later example, but a similar kind of like idea like with Fringe, where you're getting towards the end of the show and you realize you're wrapping things up and it's like you're getting ready to say goodbye to these characters. But to the credit, this show has such layered characters with fairly complex like things where like you say, we're not necessarily expecting that everyone's going to have this happy ending. Londo especially is in this sort of like end of a tragedy story, and it feels a bit more layered than just everyone has their ending and like some are alive, some are dead, and the ones that are alive are hopefully happy. This is a bit more unique in the sense that not only is it more complex with some of its characters, but because we actually also kind of know some of the future stuff that happens beyond the show, it kind of paints them into this almost bittersweet corner for some of the characters where they're going to have this fight still. And it's never ending. It's not just going to be neatly tied in a bow and they lived happily ever after. There's always going to be more things to deal with, which I suppose in a way makes it more feel like they're real, like they've got a living, breathing world that keeps spinning, or a station that keeps spinning, I suppose. After
How
the show's
about
done. Yeah. So,
do you think? I mean, because as you were talking about this, I was thinking of the Babylon 5 reboot.
mm-hmm.
Do you think that's done?
I think it's in a weird place because the CW have very much changed, and then you add on the pandemic, you add on the writer's strike that's happening right now. Given that the CW are cancelling most of their scripted content that was on before, I think there's a good chance that it's never happening, at least at the CW. It's the sort of thing where maybe it can go elsewhere.
What is this animated movie then? Like, is it just here for, like, as a compensation thing? Like,
No.
you could do another story in B5, but this B5 universe?
Well, no, the animated movie was already like going concurrently alongside the development of the show, from what I understand, from what JMS has said on Twitter.
Do you think it was like a, let's see what the demand for Babylon 5 is, like what the interest is for Babylon 5 by releasing this animated thing?
I don't think so, because an animated movie is never going to like gauge enough of like what a new live action show could be. I think the animated movie is just something where we can actually have the cast back. We can continue some of the characters from the original show, whereas the reboot has to be new actors. It has to be new everything. I think the animated thing's kind of a nostalgia thing. It's kind of like we want
just for the fans.
Yeah, that's just for the fans. The ceiling on the success of the animated movie is very, very like set in stone. I think. I don't think that can like grow and be this huge thing. I think it'll be satisfying, but hopefully to the fans of the original show, and maybe it'll do well enough because animated stuff is a bit cheaper that they might do more. JMS said that on Twitter that it could be the first of a few if like it does well. But I don't think it really impacts the reboot that much. I think the reboot right now, if I was to guess, is probably dead, just purely because of everything that's happened with the CW, where they've changed ownership. They're cancelling all the shows they had before this new ownership, barring like 2 shows. Like they've cancelled the Supernatural spinoff. They've cancelled all the superhero stuff they had.
That show was such a moneymaker too.
I know, it's like they went on because CW were known for never cancelling anything for like over a decade, and then all of a sudden they cancelled like everything almost in one swoop. So I would say it's very unlikely we see it. It's certainly from them. Like, does GMS take the idea to maybe, like, you know, elsewhere in Warner, maybe HBO Max, or just Max now as it's called? Maybe.
Why have they removed the HBO from Max?
Because David Aslav's an idiot and thinks that the HBO brand is the part that's putting people off, even though it's the...
But HBO is like the marker of prestige.
Yeah, it's the most respected TV brand on the planet. Even countries that don't have HBO like natively understand what HBO is, because the shows that come from HBO still have that cred. They still have that, you know, they still have the logo at the start. They understand HBO even if they've never had a HBO channel. It is monumentally stupid. And on some level, like, I could kind of understand why it may be a better fit on a service like that anyway. That said, though, the streaming bubble's kind of in this weird place now where, like, there is good stuff being made, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of fluff, and there's a lot of stuff being cancelled, there's a lot of stuff, like, there was a period there from, like, 2015 to, like, maybe 2019, where it felt like everywhere was greenlighting a ton of projects, and they were all guaranteed probably at least a second or third season, and then that bubbles kind of went away, and now you're constantly seeing stuff be cancelled, and not only that, you're seeing services remove shows to write off taxes and things. HBO's done it. Disney Plus just removed a big bunch of stuff. Some of it very new. Like, some of the shows they removed only finished like a few months ago, and they're gone. And it's like, oh well, if you want that, you're going to have to pirate it, because that is like literally the only way you can access it now.
They're going to Disney Vault everything.
So, basically, I'm saying in the current climate, like, I find it, I'm very skeptical that we'll see the reboot ever, to answer the question. But that was my reasoning. Obviously I want to see it. I hope GMS gets to do it. I would love a big budget, like, you know, relative big budget, like Babylon 5 modern show with
some lady writers.
Maybe some lady writer. Like, you know, The Expanse was wonderful. The Expanse in many ways was the closest thing to a modern Babylon 5 we've had. It was very different because it didn't have any aliens, but in terms of like having like the strong politics and having these like deep themes and having a lot to say, it was very much like the closest that I think we've had to Babylon 5 since Babylon 5. Maybe not counting Deep Space Nine for obvious reasons.
Thank you.
But I do think it would be fascinating to see a Babylon 5, because that show had fantastic space battles and like the effects were stunning for TV. Like, so, like, obviously, yeah, it'd be great to have some new version, but that said, though, I'm only saying that because GMS wanted to do one. Like, if he didn't want to do it and it was like someone else was going to do it, I'd be very trepidatious of like, well, like, are we just like remaking, you know? It was him being behind the wheel and saying, no, I want to like remix this and like do like a new take on it, that was making it interesting, I think. But
okay. Hey. Well, thanks for the TV news talk at the end there.
Well, you opened a can of worms, all right. But yeah, so there you go. Yeah, Wheel of Fire is a solid episode. It's not a big action spectacle episode. It's not like an episode where, you know, like, it's not the end of one of the wars or the start of one of the wars, but it is a very strong like character episode with
yeah, we'll see what happens with Lita.
Yeah, and it's really only 2 episodes left to do anything with it, because, you know, the finale's this separate thing, just by the nature of how it was made. So very cool to see.
And we got movies. What's the next movie?
Well, the next movie is actually what we're doing next. River of Souls is aired next in the timeline of like the air dates.
Sounds like a Minbari thing.
It does sound like a Minbari thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, but yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode of Babylon 5 in the comments below. You can, of course, like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates, and of course, support all the content over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv and help keep it all coming. But that is the show. That is us. Thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Just don't give away the home world.